Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Zenisek, and I am your moderator today for our webinar, Protecting Your Kidneys Through Knowledge and Lifestyle, that is presented by Dr. Elise Jones Bailey. She is a board certified OBGYN and functional medicine practitioner with 25 years in traditional obstetrics and gynecology. She transitioned in 2015 to focus on preventative care and health span extension via lifestyle medicine. A Spelman College and Morehouse School of Medicine graduate, she completed residency at Boston City Hospital and now leads a functional medicine practice in Buckhead, Atlanta. So I'm going to let you take it from here, Dr. Jones Bailey.
Okay, well, thank you for the introduction. I'm honored to be invited to speak to the kidney disease awareness community. And let's just jump right in. There we go. Okay, so can I advance them or you will be able
I
to?
will advance them. So if you want me to
Okay,
go to the next slide, I can do
yeah,
that.
please.
Okay.
So this is just a brief agenda, what we're going to talk about today, starting with basic kidney anatomy, and then we'll have, after our conclusion, number 6, we'll have a Q&A session as well. Next slide. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to look at some statistics, but I got this slide from Steve McConnell, who is one of my teachers, and he presented at the ICIM conference, but I think what's very compelling, at least for me, is that as many as 9 in 10 adults with kidney dysfunction, kidney disease, chronic kidney disease, that's what CKD stands for, do not even know they have it. And 1 in 3 adults with severe CKD do not know they have it. So I'm excited that we're here to learn today, become more aware so that we're not falling into those statistics. Next slide. Okay, we're going to start with some basic anatomy. And you can see a picture to the right of the kidneys, 2 bean-shaped organs, each about the size of your fist, and they're located on either side of your spine. Each kidney contains 1 million tiny filtering units. And so together with both kidneys, we filter 150 to 180 quarts of blood every single day. That's a lot of work. These kidneys process your entire blood volume 40 times daily. Next slide. So in looking at basic kidney anatomy and function, I'm giving you a different view. We've got the kidneys there on the top, right and left, identified. The red pipes are the arteries, and the blue pipes are the veins. So you can see that this is a very vascular area, and there's blood flow, obviously, to the kidneys. And then there are 2 tubes on the right and left coming out of the kidneys, heading down and into that big pink circle, which is the bladder. And then the bladder lets the urine out through the urethra, and there's a little sphincter or muscle that controls that. So that's the urinary system. And the function of the kidneys is waste removal, fluid balance, balance of electrolytes, that's sodium and potassium and chloride, as well as minerals, blood pressure control, and the production of red blood cells through a hormone called erythropoietin. Next slide. So everybody probably recognizes this gentleman, Lance Armstrong. Back in 2013, it came to light that he was a disgraced American athlete, I guess one would say, when Oprah Winfrey did a show, and she showed that although he denied allegations of doping, it actually ended up being true. And the interesting thing is that usually when you think of doping, you think of narcotics, but he was using synthetic erythropoietin. So that's the hormone you just saw comes from the kidneys. It produces red blood cells. Red blood cells carry oxygen. So if you have more red blood cells, then you're delivering more oxygen to the tissues. So that's giving him a competitive advantage because he's getting more oxygen with the erythropoietin help. So that's what he was found guilty of. All right, next slide. So we're going to talk briefly about the genetic and ethnic considerations. There are disparities in kidney disease in different ethnic groups. African Americans are 4 times more likely to develop kidney failure, 1 to 3 times more likely for Hispanic Latino Americans, and Asians little less than 1.3, but definitely related more to higher rates of diabetes. So that seems to be the direct link. I'm going to show you a brief YouTube video, Michelle, if you'd put it up, because I think this very nicely discusses it. It's by a Dr. Burvell, who was a resident at the time of this in Seattle, Washington, and since now has graduated and is practicing.
Can you see it on my screen?
I can.
Okay, so I'm gonna hit play.
Thinking about the use of race in algorithms in medicine was with the GFR equation. If you have a high GFR number, your kidneys are working well. If you have a low GFR number, your kidneys typically aren't working very well. There had actually been a racial adjustment to this algorithm that was used specifically for Black patients. And what that ended up doing was it made it less likely for Black patients to get diagnosed with higher levels of chronic kidney disease, less likely to be referred out to kidney specialists, less likely to get kidney transplants. And this went on for decades until people started saying, why are we using race, even though we know this is a common phrase, race is a social construct. I want us to move from a race-based medical system to a race-conscious medical system. What that means is we don't use race as a way to actually treat people differently, but we understand how race leads people to be treated differently by the systems and policies that exist. Today and tomorrow's research scientists aren't just scientists anymore, right? They are champions of a next generation. It's going to take a new type of physician to understand how social issues and the medical issues come together in order to form a better healthcare system.
You can stop that, Michelle. That was pretty much what I wanted to show.
Okay.
And then if you can go on to the next slide, which I think is slide number 8 for you. And I've got a table there. Yeah.
Okay.
But briefly, Dr. Burvell talks about this GFR, glomerular filtration rate. And that is a test that's typically done with your primary care doctor to look at the functioning of your kidneys and see how healthy they are. And as he said, I think the main point is an elevated GFR means a highly functioning kidney, and a low GFR means a failing functioning kidney. So this table looks at 3 different ethnic groups: African Americans, Latin Americans, and Europeans. And then it looks at the factors that are responsible for kidney disease or renal insufficiency, also known as, in each of these groups. And it's interesting that it's different for each group. You can see that for African Americans, structural stress and hypertension, that's the HTN, is the primary driver. And there is a genetic role in some cases, not all, in fact, not most. And that's a gene called ApoL1, which is kind of interesting. It is a gene that African Americans have that prevents them from getting sleeping sickness. So there's a parasite that you can consume, and then once you're infected with this parasite, you get sleeping sickness, and that actually is fatal. You never wake up. So if you have this ApoL1 gene, you're actually immune to the effects of that parasite. So like many genetic things, there's always a good in the genetics, and then there's a negative side of the genetics. For example, sickle cell prevents you from getting malaria. So African Americans have some of these genetic predispositions, and that certainly has an influence on kidney disease. Stress load, very high. And diet impact. So diet is so key for healthy kidneys, and this is a huge challenge for African Americans, but also right next door for Latin Americans as well. And there's some consideration that because we weren't born in the United States and we immigrated or were brought here to the United States, we had to adjust to the new diet of the United States. And so this diet shift is what's impacting our kidney health. And then healthcare mismatch. Of course, we see that more commonly in all the minority communities. And we do see the onset of CKD earlier in both Latin Americans and African Americans, as opposed to much later in Europeans. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is the GFR, which is what Dr. Gravel was mentioning. And the fact that this is something that gets measured, you want to make sure yours is getting measured and make sure that it is being corrected. They're not using the old standard before 2021 where the GFR was corrected for race. But you there? Okay. Renal factors behind some of the disparities. There's unequal access to healthcare in minority communities. There are higher rates of underlying conditions for minority communities like hypertension and diabetes. Oh, there you are. Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. We're good. Let's talk a little bit about, we'll switch gears, medications that can harm the kidney. Is there one slide before this?
I think there was, and I'm trying
okay. Well, you know what? It's fine. We can just go with this one. There is one slide before, but can you go back or no?
That's what I'm trying to
okay.
do.
Well, while you're trying to go back, I'll talk about this one.
Okay.
So interestingly enough, medicines for blood pressure, ACE inhibitors and angiotensin receptor blockers. And those are lisinopril, enalapril, losartan, and valsartan. Many people are recognizing those prescriptions. These medications are prescribed for blood pressure control, but they can cause acute kidney injury in certain situations. So in the setting of dehydration, you're more likely to have kidney injury. If you also have a concomitant infection, you may have kidney injury on these medications. And if you combine it with an NSAID, that's Motrin, Nuprin, Aleve, and any kind of diuretic like hydrochlorothiazide, it can drastically reduce the kidney function. Same as certain antibiotics, the names are listed there, gentamicin, tobramycin, vancomycin. These are fairly strong antibiotics. They have a direct effect on the tubular cells of the kidney and they damage them. This also will be more commonly occurring in the setting of dehydration. Yeah, so you want to make sure, yeah.
If you don't mind me to stop this and then I can get back to that slide. So absolutely. I apologize.
It's all good.
Let me do that and you can keep talking.
Okay.
So let me see.
So I want to say something about those medicines while you're getting that slide together. I mean, obviously you have to take medicines for blood pressure and it doesn't mean you should stop taking them, but you do want to have a conversation with your provider about those concerns of it affecting your kidney function potentially. You want to make sure you're staying really well hydrated. That's a huge piece of it. And that in certain situations, you're aware that the kidneys could temporarily be affected. Oh, okay. So I think
this the one or the next slide? There we go.
Yeah, there you go. So number one, and medications that harm the kidney are that group of medicines, Advil, Motrin, Nuprin, Aleve, and actually high-dose aspirin. They reduce blood flow to the kidney by blocking something called prostaglandins that help keep the kidney's blood flow going. So again, this is going to be exaggerated if you're taking it every single day for arthritis or for pain. If you're dehydrated and you're taking these medications, if you've got pre-existing kidney disease, so you know you have a challenge with your kidney function, and then you take this medicine, you're going to harm the kidneys a little bit more aggressively. So yeah, regular use of these medications can reduce the kidney function by as much as 20% over time. So we do want to be aware of that. To the right, we have the category of medications called protein pump inhibitors, and some of these are over the counter, Prilosec, Prevacid, and Nexium. Take them for gastric reflux or heartburn. They cause interstitial nephritis. So within the framework of the kidney, they cause an inflammation response. And this inflammatory kidney condition can increase the risk of chronic kidney disease if you continue to take these medications long-term, which many people do take heartburn medications long-term. So it's time to start maybe exploring what other options you have for treatment of your heartburn. Studies show that 20 to 50%, there's a 20 to 50% increased risk of chronic kidney disease with long-term use of these drugs. Okay, you can go to the next slide. I think the next slide we covered. Oh, no, okay. 3 is laxatives. Products containing sodium phosphate, bicosidil, and senna. Senna is a common one. They cause dehydration and imbalances in the electrolytes. That's the sodium and the potassium and the chloride. And it mentions that it particularly depletes potassium and sodium, which stresses the kidney function. Chronic use can lead to something called laxative kidney, and that can sometimes cause permanent damage. So again, you may need these things sporadically, but you don't want to take laxatives and nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories regularly every day, ongoing, without paying attention to what it may do to your kidneys. Next slide. Okay, that's the one we already talked about. So you can skip to the next one. Yeah. And many people have x-rays done, particularly CAT scans and MRIs, and sometimes you have to have contrast given. And this is something you also should make your doctor aware of. There are contrast-induced kidney damage, which is nephro is Latin for kidney, pathy is disease, especially in people who already have some kidney issues or are diabetic or are dehydrated. Also includes people that are pre-diabetic and potentially even insulin resistance. They can also have challenges with their kidney function and would be at risk with these particular dyes. You want to make sure that you're really well hydrated before you have any of these tests. And again, you pull the coattail of your provider, letting him know what medications you're on and that your kidney function is whatever it is, and you're about to have this test, so you want them to be aware. Next slide. Okay. These are environmental toxins to the kidney. So sort of environmental damage to the kidney can come from these things. And toxin class lists some of them: heavy metals, PFAS, those are those forever chemicals. I'm sure you see those commercials on those the cookware that lasts forever. Those can usually containing some of those things like PFAS, pesticides, herbs, and believe it or not, air pollution. And you can see under examples that particulate matter 2.5, that's what PM stands for. So those are little particles that are less than 2.5 millimeters in size that are in the air that we're all breathing. Most commonly, it's exhaust fumes from a car, but it can be industrial plume. It can be around cigarette smoke. So all of those things are subtle kidney toxins, and the damage that is done under primary renal injury, for example, with the pollution, it affects the blood vessels to the kidney. That's microvascular damage. So yeah, so something to definitely keep in mind. If you have an air purifier at home, that'd probably be a pretty good idea. If you're going organic or washing your vegetables and fruits very well, you'll get rid of your pesticides. Yeah, all right, let's go to the next slide. So in my world of functional medicine, we recognize that medication effects, they really don't occur in isolation. You really have to look at the total burden on the kidney. So we're looking at all the multiple inputs that can affect the kidney: the medications, your health status, your nutritional state, your hydration level, your toxic exposure. All of those inform your healthcare providers about every medication and supplement that you are taking. You should inform them so that they can look at your kidney health more comprehensively, more holistically. Next slide. Okay. Oh, this is one of my favorite things to talk about. So Dana Cohen is an integrative medicine physician in Manhattan. She wrote a book called Quench. She has another book called Fuel Up. And the Quench principle that she talks about in this book is based on these beautiful Mexican marathon runners, the Tarahumara people, and they're indigenous to Mexico. And these guys run 50 to 100-mile marathons just for fun through the desert terrain. And their secret obviously isn't that they're drinking massive amounts of water, because they're in the desert and there isn't a lot of water. But they have a traditional drink, isquiati, which is also called chia fresca. And the recipe is listed below, where they take 1 to 2 tablespoons of chia seeds, which they keep in their pocket, or they have a little pouch while they're running their 50 miles. And they mix it with water and a little lime juice. And if they have a natural sweetener, they'll put it in there, but not always. A natural sweetener might be dates. And they let that sit until the water forms like a viscous gel. Now, remember that chia seeds, which is the basis of it, hold 10 to 12 times their weight in water. And then they release it slowly, providing sustained hydration at the cellular level over time. So this is perfect if you're running 50 to 100 miles. The water is going to come in and go out, but in the gel form, the water stays with you. And I think many of us know that water comes steamed or ice or liquid, but this other form of water, which is gel, has been around forever. I mean, gel water would be like in cactuses and in aloe, and it's extremely hydrating and it's sustainable hydration. So this is something to think about if you're not drinking water, if you're getting water in the gel form. Okay, next slide. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about hydrating foods for your kidneys, because it's really not all about drinking water. And I know a lot of people are stressed about drinking water and getting their liter in a day, especially in the winter when you tend to be less thirsty. So you can move out of that into what foods can I eat that are really going to bring me good hydration. And many of these we'll do it through just the liquid water, but also through the gel water form. You got cucumbers, 95% water, watermelon, 92%, celery, 95%, and then your green leafy vegetables. So the question I always get asked is like, how much water should I drink? And this is so individual, because it just depends on your size and your weight and the medications you're on and all of those variables. But just a general guide is divide your body weight in half. And that's approximately how many ounces of fluid you need to drink daily. If you're active, like you're working out or you're sweating, you probably add another 10 to 20% on for that. And I want to quickly talk about celery. Celery is the magic vegetable for kidney health. Celery is unique because it has a product in it called N-butylphthalide, and also a bioflavonoid. And because of that, it acts as a vasodilator, so it dilates the blood flow to the kidney, reduces vascular resistance, decreases inflammation, and decreases cellular level oxidative stress, which is wear and tear. It's like the magic vegetable. So a lot of my patients with high blood pressure, I have them drink celery juice every day, six ounces of celery juice. It is so powerful for not only the hydration, but also as an antihypertensive support. All right, next slide. Fruits and vegetables, nature's kidney protectors, berries, and these also contain those bioflavonoids, which I talked about. Bioflavonoids are in the Kidney Defender product, but all things with color like purple and red and orange are going to have bioflavonoids in them. Cruciferous vegetables, people also call those nightshades, so Brussels sprouts and on anything that's growing underneath the ground. Next slide. Yeah. Okay, I want to briefly talk about this protein thing. Traditional medical advice for protein. For decades, we're told if you have kidney disease or kidney failure, that you really have to restrict your protein. And the reasoning was that protein metabolism produced this waste, blood urea, nitrogen, and creatinine, and that the kidneys then have to filter that waste. And so you are burdening the kidney by eating more protein and making it do that work. Next slide. Okay, so here's the paradigm shift. In current nephrology research and in functional medicine, we know that it's really not about the protein itself, it's the protein quality and the source of the protein that matter. So we've got animal source protein and we got plant source protein. I'm sure you can guess which one is the one that's probably most dangerous to the kidney in terms of it having to work harder to burden the kidney with the protein load, and that's the animal source protein. Okay, it contains more phosphorus. It's associated with faster progression of kidney disease. It makes more inflammatory processes happening, and it also makes a more acidic environment. And we know that a healthy environment in our pH of our system is going to be alkaline. Next slide. Okay. So practical things to consider. You don't need to be a vegetarian or vegan, but you do want to consider a 70-30 or 80-20 rule, with your plants being the 70 or the 80 and your protein being the 30 or the 20 ratio. And when eating animal protein, if you're going to eat that, that's fine, but get fish mostly, poultry, go organic, go grass-fed, use reasonable portion sizes, and again, go quality here. Beans and lentils are a great substitution, and even consider something like meatless Mondays. You also want to think about the blood flow to the kidney, because the heartier and the healthier the blood flow to the kidney, then the better that kidney can function. And I've listed a couple of supplemental things: omega-3, magnesium, potassium, that help kidney blood flow. But this big category, which are nitrate-rich foods, they produce nitric oxide, and that's what's in arugula and spinach and bok choy and Swiss chard, turnip, celery. But really in beet roots are probably one of the highest sources. I don't know why I don't have that on there, but beet roots are really high in nitrates that turn to nitric oxide, and that dilates the blood vessels to the kidney and promotes healthy blood flow. In many of my patients with kidney challenges and hypertension, not only do I have them do their celery drink, but I usually have them have nitric oxide rich foods, arugula, spinach, at least one meal a day for lunch or for an early dinner, so they can promote nitric oxide and vasodilatation and good blood flow to the kidney. Next slide. So let's talk a little bit about lifestyle. This is my wheelhouse as a functional medicine provider. You got to move. Regular physical activity improves blood flow everywhere, including the kidneys. It's great if you can do it in the morning to start your day. 150 minutes moderate activity, even a 20-minute daily walk. Stress management, that's probably the hardest thing for all of us. But many of you in the community I'm speaking to, I'm going to come down to that third item: prayer, meditation, deep breathing, time in nature are all de-stressors. Those are free. Community and faith-based support, of course, in the kidney awareness community. I think you guys have this one down. Sleep quality, that's a big one. Your kidneys do important regenerative work while you sleep. Poor sleep quality and duration is linked to faster kidney function decline, and that is a medical fact. You want to aim for a minimum of 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. Even if you're getting up to tinkle, you get right back in the bed and go to sleep. Don't look at your phone, don't turn on the light, go right back to bed. And of note is that blood pressure naturally drops during sleep. That gives kidneys a little bit of a break. Next slide. Okay, this is a tough one: avoiding toxins. We do a every 6-month detox. Many people are doing the Daniel fast right now. Smoking, probably the risk factor for many diseases, but certainly for damage to the kidney, because it decreases blood flow to the kidney. It constricts the blood vessels that go to the kidney. Of course, alcohol, because it's sugar, and the kidneys have to work really hard to process that sugar. Avoid unnecessary medications. If you have to take Motrin, take 1, take 2 maybe, but try not to get taking that on a regular basis. And then you got to be cautious about certain herbal supplements and certain health food products. because they may not also be kidney friendly. Weight management, excess weight increases risk of diabetes and hypertension. That's the direct fast train to kidney dysfunction. Even losing up to 10% of your weight reduces the disease risk of your kidney. So you want to focus on whole food as well, where I talked about those foods with the berries and the cruciferous vegetables and all. And to the right, control your blood pressure as best you can and control your blood sugar. These are the two leading causes of kidney disease. Monitor it and treat it early. A lot of times you'll have repeated spikes in blood pressure, but you won't fully have graduated to sustainable high blood pressure. Get in there while you're having the repeated spikes and institute some of these lifestyle changes so that it doesn't unfold to a hypertension situation and potentially the need for medication. Lifestyle modifications are so key with managing blood pressure and blood sugar. Okay, next slide. All right, so here's the beauty. It's all in your control. And here's what you can do. 1, make good food choices. 2, you gotta move. There's just no getting around it. Number 3, pay attention to your stress response. If you have any kind of home device that you're monitoring, if you have an Oura ring, it looks at sleep and stress and all of these things, and be intentional about some stress management strategy for yourself during the day. Make sure you're getting adequate sleep in bed before midnight, lights off, no electronics, completely unplugged, and prepare yourself like a nighttime ritual where every night you do the same thing, drifting off to sleep and then waking up pretty consistently at the same time the following morning. Number 5, be your own healthcare advocate. You got to tell your physician, because you got about 10 or 15 minutes without appointment, all of your concerns with regard to family history, with regard to medicines and the protection of your kidney. And I think I'm going to have some things on the slide coming up that are going to direct you more specifically, but you've got to be your own advocate. And 6, your community connections. This is a beautiful group that's bringing kidney awareness to the community. And so stay connected. Next slide. Okay, here's the questions. Make sure your physician knows your family history. And this is a hard one because we don't really always know our family history. So you do have to ask, but some of these issues, high blood pressure, heart disease, heart attack, lupus, autoimmune disease, scleroderma, polycystic kidneys, aunt or uncle who had kidney failure and took dialysis, all that needs to be shared with your provider. Your ethnic geographic background. That's always, a lot of people are doing genetic testing and they kind of know specifically their ethnic background, but that does need to be discussed. And the third one is there are social determinants that affect your health. You got to be able to get to these healthy food choices. You have to have a safe place to exercise. You have to have access to healthcare. You have to have insurance to cover the healthcare, and you have to deal with work and life stressors. Many people are in caretaking roles, and caretaking is a stress in and of itself. So that has to be addressed. Next slide. Okay. So finally, your kidneys are fearfully and wonderfully made, and they're constantly working to keep you healthy. By understanding their function, you can keep them protected. You want to nourish them with food choices. You want to embrace a healthy lifestyle that supports your health, and you really want to be a steward of this precious gift. I'm going to quote something a little biblical. For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. That's Psalm 139, 13 through 14. Inward parts includes the kidneys and all the inner organs. In Hebrew, the kidneys are thought to symbolize motives and emotions. So I always find the metaphysical piece kind of interesting. All right, next slide. I've got a bibliography. I think one more slide is another bibliography and another slide is the last one. I will point on that last slide, Ellie Campbell's book. Can you go back? If you can, I can say it. It's number 22. No, 23. The Blood Pressure Blueprint, The Holistic Guide to Defeating Hypertension. Great book for the layperson to read about what you can do in terms of the lifestyle changes to promote healthy kidneys. And that whether your kidneys are healthy now or whether you've got already having a problem with CKD, anywhere you can come in and bring your best lifestyle game to the table is going to promote your health span. Okay, I think we have some questions, Michelle. Oh, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, so here we go. First
Okay.
question. Does Tylenol also contribute to acute kidney function?
No. It's acetaminophen. It's different than aspirin. So, I'm going to say no to that.
Okay. And then the next question is, should genetic testing be considered for people in higher risk groups? Do you know if insurance typically pays for this?
Yeah, they don't. Insurance is it's a sick care model, right? So they only pay for tests that are related to you being sick, which in their eyes, genetics isn't really a part of that. So you would have to ask for that test to be done, and then you would have the out-of-pocket expense for it. You can go online and Google what companies may be doing that. Sometimes they have specials or places you can go to have some of these tests done, but generally speaking, they're not going to be covered by insurance and they're not the standard of care.
Okay. And last question is, can mold contribute to kidney disease?
Oh, that's a really smart question. Yeah, it's a nephrotoxin as well. And that's really that's a tough one because mold exposure, depending on where you live, is pretty ubiquitous. If you're in Florida or South Carolina or Georgia or any of these wet climates, then you're getting mold exposure. And some people get mold exposure and detoxify and handle it well. And there are other groups of people that don't, that struggle, that maybe have chronic sinus issues or chronic skin problems, all because of mold exposure where they're struggling to detoxify the mold. So yes, it is a contributor.
Okay. Well, that is it for the questions. We thank you for your time today, and feel free to, for those watching, feel free to email any questions you have as well, if you think of any after this is over. So,
And I want to invite you to certainly send me an email, Buckhead Functional Medical Group at gmail.com. Happy to answer that. Just put in the search bar kidney awareness. Again, Buckhead Functional Medical Group at gmail.com, and I'll get back to you.
all right.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.